And then, so you get back from your second tour in Vietnam, and is that the war ended, right? I mean, this is
pretty much
that was it.
In fact, platoon that was at Ben Luck, which was 40 miles away from us. They were only over there for 3 months, and they came back too. So we were the last full deployed platoon in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was November platoon. Was their chief, like you said, just a bunch of great guys in the platoon.
And I mean, at that time there was a couple hundred guys at SEAL Team 1.
I think there was about, maybe it had boosted up real high, so there might have been 250, 300. I think there was only about 150 when I got in there. I don't know if the big push had started yet to build more guys up. There wasn't a lot. You knew everybody. I mean, it was a pretty tight group.
And one guy that we both know, he told me when he checked into SEAL Team 1 back then, he was like taking a shower after PT, and like every guy was shot up. Like you could just see every guy was, you could see scars in their arm, leg, wounded. Were a lot of guys staying in at that time? Or were a lot of guys doing a couple platoons getting out?
I think most of the guys stayed in. That's what we did. That's what we loved. And then after the war, yeah, we had a pretty good exodus of people getting out.
And were they getting out because
there wasn't nothing to do? Yeah,
Nothing to do.
That's what they were doing. That was their, there's nothing else. I mean, what are you going to do? And I stayed in because I just liked the guys. I liked what we did. And like when I was over at Bud's, I come back in 71, and then I went over to Bud's as an instructor, and I got bored doing that. So there's this guy called.
I'll tell you, I would not want to be a student when you are bored as a Bud's instructor. I bet you.
I was a nice guy there. But anyway, so when Buddy Dahl was in UDT, he's a little bitty guy from Colorado, and he was a rodeo rider, right? So he talks me into going out this place called Burton's, which is out by, it wasn't Lakeside, it was Lemon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Lemon Grove?
Lemon Grove, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a place called Burton's out there, and it was just all bulls, but they were dinks. They weren't your rodeo bulls, So I went out there, and hell, I liked it and never got bucked off there. So I went rodeo and went IRA, then PRCA.
No kidding.
And actually thought about getting out of the Navy to ride rodeo because I loved it. But then I got bored because bulls, I rode bulls. They were the last of the event, right?
Yeah.
So I started riding bareback and saddle bronc too. But I got stepped on. Well, I got 22 stitches in my left side of my face, 14 in the back of my head, had both my shoulders dislocated. What else? Got gored, and then I got stepped on and had 5 busted ribs and punctured lungs, so I figured, okay, that's enough. So I quit doing that and just stayed in the teams,
The teams are safer than rodeo riding.
Yeah, well, that was over a year and a half, almost 2 years, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah, and what about guys? I mean, how were guys doing as far as handling what they'd seen and coming back, and all of a sudden they're in Main Street?
Dude, we didn't have that problem. Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, the guys that were crazy before they went over.
I mean, often say that.
They weren't, I mean, I know all my buddies. In fact, this Thursday night, we'll have that Vietnam UDT SEAL get-together on Thursday night. Talk to those guys. You don't see anybody going, I've got to go to the hospital, I'm mentally ill. And not that I know of, I tell you. There maybe it did happen, but the only guy I know that really got affected he was with that one platoon, I can't think of the name of it, and they were taking apart a mortar, and the mortar blew up. And he had just left to have a cigarette, and all of his buddies got killed by that mortar and stuff, including a guy named who was just a superb guy. And he wasn't quite the same after that, and I can understand that. I mean, that, you know what I mean? But just being the firefights and shit like that and stuff that happened, nobody, it was the way it was,
And even when you got out for the first, so then you did 30 years in the Navy. And that was another funny thing when I talked about earlier when you lane graded me for the first time. I don't know how old you were. It was 1993, maybe.
What platoon were you in?
I was in Alpha Platoon at Team 1 with
It was a good op.
Yeah, but you were, I don't know how old you were in that time period, but, you know, from my perspective, you were like 170 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, hey, this guy's, this is Roger Hayden. And you were like putting on your wetsuit. Oh, okay. Put on the wetsuit. I guess he's going to get in the water. Gets in the water. Swim in. Do the recon.
I swam in with him, did the recon, and then I swam back out.
Swam back out, you know. Yeah,
that's what you have to do. If you're going to do OREs, you got to do them right. You know, go point A to point B. Otherwise, you don't see everything, you know. And that's what I liked. I was a warrant then, but that's what I liked my last 3 or 4 years, 3 years, I think, in the teams as I did OREs. Mm-hmm. So you still got to have your feet on the ground with the boys, you know. You couldn't be in a platoon, which sucked, but that's the way it was, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the platoon life. Now, I know that you're short on time, and I rushed this, and I'm glad we were able to get a little bit done. And I think maybe after this one, and we get to listen to it, and I'll probably end up with a bunch more questions. I know people that are listening to this, a bunch of team guys listen to this. They actually, a bunch of team guys sent me a bunch of questions. I didn't get to any of them.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I know it's. I'm sorry. And
no, it's all good.
It's just things that pop up in your head when you talk about them. You know, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I was a frogman first, and then a SEAL. You know, so that was probably one of the best deployments I ever had. That was great, and Philippines was great, and we were so glad to leave the Philippines and go back to a depth just to get out of it for a while. We would have died, you know.
So, I will definitely get you back on here, and like I said, next time I'll get some questions from the team guys that they asked me to ask you and go through some of those. But man, thanks for coming on. I know, like I said, I know you've never been out in the public eye before, and that's just the epitome of a quiet professional that we were all raised on, and I appreciate it. Like I said, you're a hero of mine. You're a hero of the SEAL teams, and you're really a hero to everybody in this country.